Hey, everybody. I'm back. Another History in the Mirror broadcast. It's been a while since our last one. Been pretty crazy busy. Um, Got some hay that we baled, so a lot of work going on in that. I'm a little scruffy this morning, just with all the things going on. Life has been kind of fast paced lately. Not an excuse for, I guess, not shaving. But anyway, I'm back. Got some things on my heart that I want to share with you today. I'm going to talk quite a bit today about the Holocaust. I think it is time to take a serious look at this subject. In the description below, I got to make sure I write a note of that. Not too long ago, sure, a lot of you have probably heard of a guy called Jocko Willink. He does a podcast once a week on leadership. Jocko's a former Navy SEAL officer, very squared away. I love what the guy has to say about being a leader and being an American. He put a lot of posts up around the Memorial Day time about not forgetting the price that was paid for our freedoms and stuff like that. Check it out. I'm going to post the link in the description right down there. He did a podcast with a Holocaust survivor. Give it a listen. The first few minutes are pretty chilling, really, because it's basically the story of the person that he's interviewing, written by that person when they were a child, going in the rail cars to Auschwitz. So anyway, some data that I just gathered a little bit ago that's to me, it's just stunning. I'll just get into it. I was looking at an article. I actually just Googled this. I said, how many people are not aware that the Holocaust actually happened? And top Google result was actually from the Washington Post. So if you guys know anything about the Washington Post, they are about as liberal left as you can possibly get without falling over the cliff. Okay. 2/3 of people surveyed, this survey that they're citing in the Washington Post, had never heard of the Holocaust. And if they did, they had very little knowledge of it. They did not have a clue where Auschwitz was, what Auschwitz was, things like that. 58% of the respondents, once they were going through the survey, if they thought something like this could happen again, 58% said, yeah, they did. They thought it was possible that this could happen again. CBS and New York Times published another survey. 40% of people interviewed have no knowledge and don't have a clue what the Holocaust is. They were basically kind of educated on the fly as far as, it just, to me, it's sad. The whole mantra of this channel and what I originally set out to do was to just really encourage people that history ignored. If you ignore history, you're doomed to repeat it. Put in deals about the propaganda to try to shed some light on, what's happening today with social media and the secular news media, like the mainstream media, like CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, all of these. And I know, a lot of people are like, oh, dude, you talk like this and you're not a Fox News dude. Not really. I see a lot of stuff on Fox that just is like, okay, yeah, they have a leaning, but you think about this. I'm just going to take a little bit of a rabbit trail here a minute. All of the major news media companies are owned by 6 people. And I'm just going to go this way for just a second. Pretty much all of them lean Democrat. Okay. So I'm going to address one more thing real quick, and then I'm going to get into the meat and potatoes of this, dealing with the Holocaust. The whole race thing that's going on right now. Here's the thing. I talked to a friend of mine at work yesterday about this, and he's Hispanic. And I absolutely love this guy to no end. I mean, I've got a heart for him that if I could, I would do almost anything for this guy. And we got to talking about it a little bit. We got to talking about race. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? When I look at you, I don't see the color of your skin. I look at a black man, I don't see the color of his skin. The point of the whole thing is, and I told him this, I said, you are a person that was created in the image of God, and you have infinite value. And that's the way that we as people, all right, should be looking at every single human being that walks the face of this earth, that they are created in the image of God and they have infinite value. They have dreams, they have desires, they have things that they want to see in their life, they want to see done with their life, they want to do in their life with their life, just like you and I do, just like everybody does. Who are we to sit and judge another person based on what they look like? That's dumb. Okay, so, all right, I said it. It's stupid. Pause for effect. Pause and calmly think of that. Just don't do it. Because it's dumb. All racism really does is it shows the world that you have no self-confidence in who you are. So you have to go and bash somebody down for some stupid reason like that in order to elevate your self-esteem so you can feel better about yourself. You've got to find a petty little way to elevate your self-esteem. So you go and you look at the color of a person's skin, you look at the shape of their eyes, you look at whatever, and then, it's a racist thing. That's an open message to all the racists out there. And I hope you get it, and I hope you listen to it. Okay. So that's my rant for the day. I'm pretty passionate about that. I think racism is stupid. I actually went to, when I was in the Air Force and stationed in Florida, I actually went to a predominantly black church for a while and loved it. I mean, those people were just like my family, and they treated me the same way. And I was honored to no end to go there and to have that. So anyway, that's my view on racism. Short, sweet, and very blunt, and that's okay because sometimes that's the way it needs to be. All right, back to the Holocaust. And you know what? The whole racism thing is part of this. This is a part of it. Think about where this came from. Think about where, the whole anti-Semitic thing, Jews have been hated for years. The Jewish people have been hated for years and years and years and years. That much is apparent. That's been basically since the dawn of time. You look back into biblical times, people have wanted to wipe out the Jewish race for as long as it's been around, as long as the Jewish people have been around. So, but I guess my goal today is, first of all, we're going to, do just a little bit of talk about, just sharing a little bit, the Jocko podcast. Take a listen. It's a gut wrencher. It's going to just really, I hope, open a lot of eyes as to what this was all about and how bad it really was. And I really hope that a lot of people will see this at some point and say, wow, I never knew that it was that bad, because then we've achieved the goal of what we want this channel to become is a way to help educate people onto history, to basically say, you know what, we're not going to repeat the same thing. Okay. So I haven't heard, I've not been totally looking just because we've been, pretty busy. I haven't heard if things are opening up in Europe yet to the point where I can go to Auschwitz. I know that Luxembourg American Cemetery over in Luxembourg City is open on a limited basis now, and that's exciting news. I haven't heard of any other ones that are yet, but that trip will mean a trip through Germany and into Poland. So, there's some different stuff we've kind of got to get in place before we can actually go. First thing is international travel. I got to be able to get across the ocean without taking a cargo container vessel or something like that and being seasick for 3 weeks. But anyway, so just let's think about that. Think about the lack of teaching in the schools going on right now, because you think about all this. It's not that these kids they just tune it out. They don't hear about it. People don't hear about the Holocaust. They do not even hear it in the school. When they go to school, it's like something that's not taught anymore. Okay, so with that, you can look at it this way and say, all right, they're being pretty much taught that it didn't exist by omitting it. Okay, the omission of the Holocaust, what's that? Okay, like if somebody, if I were to go on a road trip, okay, and nobody told me that I couldn't go to this certain place, that's kind of a lame example, but then you get there, oh, well, didn't you hear? It's like, no, nobody told me. Oh, well, you can't go here anymore. Okay, I guess I'll go home. See, that omission, there was no information given to me that I couldn't take that trip or go to that place that I wanted to go or whatever. So the omission is just as bad as teaching the negative, because you're not putting the facts out there that it actually existed. Looking at this book, Auschwitz, not long ago, not far away. There you go. There's the full cover. It's kind of a coffee table type book, but it's more of a real life. This is what these people went through. It's a real personal story of some of the people who survived, some of the people who actually died there, and it really gives it more of a personal nature instead of just raw, hard facts like 500,000 Jewish people were gassed at Auschwitz and burned or something like that. Their bodies burned. And instead of, just raw, huge numbers, this puts a personal aspect on it. I would highly recommend this book. Anyway, I was reading one day and I came across this section, and it talked about, go back a couple pages. They're talking about the establishment of the Third Reich, and what the Nazi Party was all about. Went to, the indoctrination of the German people into the evil, quote unquote, evil of the Jewish people. Because the big thing with Hitler is he was fully convinced and fully persuaded that it was the fault of the Jewish people. The Jewish people were the ones that stabbed Germany in the back in the First World War and caused them to suffer the defeat that they did in the First World War. So that was his big thing. And the whole platform was anti-Semitic. It was all anti-Jewish, every bit of it. So when they began to ascend to power, their whole propaganda machine was based on that, anti-Jewish and anti-communist. Okay, another little rabbit trail. You want to see something crazy? Look up the Anti-Fascist Action League in Germany in the 1930s. Okay, they were a group of communists. They were affiliated with the Communist Party in Germany, and they were kind of a violent protest type of organization. Go look at their logo. Okay, Google that. Anti-Fascist Action, Communists, Germany, 1930, 33, whatever. Okay, look at that. Now, Google the Antifa logo and look at how strikingly similar they are. Okay, look at how, should I have all this for you? I could, yeah. Do some homework, folks. Let's do some homework. Let's look at some stats for ourselves. Let's look at some things for ourselves. I want you to look at the platform for the Anti-Fascist Action League in Germany. Look at their platform. Look at what they did. Look at how they operated. Go and look at Antifa. Look at the logo. It's the same little circle with the two flags in it and the same writing the same way around the circle. It's pretty much identical. And look at their platform. Look at who the German Anti-Fascist League, look at who they stumped for and who they supported. Look at the Antifa thing and look at who they are and which direction they lean. And I mean, history ignored repeats itself. All right, take a look at it and draw your own conclusion. I'm just going to say they are so similar, it is almost a rehash. Okay, but do your own homework. Okay, back to the book. Talking about trust no fox on the green heath and no Jew on his oath. This was in a children's book in Germany in 1933, indoctrinating kids into the evils of Judaism. All right, quote unquote evils. All right, Jews are Jews and remain so. For our people, they are a poison. Our boys and girls must learn to know the Jew. They must learn that the Jew is the most dangerous poison mushroom in existence. That was the name of the children's book. It was called The Poison Mushroom. And so you see where they're being indoctrinated into this. And so they talk about, in this book, they talk about the rise of the SS and how the SS were the ones that replaced the SA, which the SA were the brown shirts. They were the thug arm of the Nazi party early on, which they were replaced by the SS, which was the ethnic cleansing arm of Nazi Germany. All right. In like 1935 or 36 or something, the SA was disbanded and the brown shirts were no more. It became the black shirts with the skull and crossbones. All right. So do some research on that too. I'm going to read a little bit of this, a little bit more of this. They're talking about the propaganda being spread there with Goebbels. And they're talking about the promises that they were making to transform the life of the German worker, okay, purging the nation of the Jewish problem and then establishing this big utopian society for the German worker, okay? I'm going to just start reading here. Give a good hard listen to this, okay? And it might be argued that the uniformed, comradely world the Nazis sought to create, a world in which people encounter only people like themselves and in which privacy is destroyed, eliminated the very possibility of critical thought itself. At least this is what Hannah Arendt postulated 30 years after her own escape from Germany. In the Third Reich, the distinction between fact and fiction, which allows people to judge the reality of experience, and the distinction between true and false, which is a basic standard of thought, collapsed. And this destroyed the German people's capacity for action. According to Arendt, we are able to experience reality when we are in the company of people who are different from us, but whom we trust, and who may challenge or confirm our experiences. Yet the Nazis had worked hard to make such people absent. In this situation, man loses trust in himself as the partner of his thoughts and that elementary confidence in the world which is necessary to make experiences at all. Quote, within the Third Reich, facts did not matter. Quote, the Nazi impress on the German and let me start that one over. Quote, the Nazi impress on the German mind consists primarily in a conditioning whereby reality has ceased to be the sum total of hard, inescapable facts and has become a conglomeration of ever-changing events and slogans in which a thing can be true today and false tomorrow. I'm going to stop there and I'm going to say you take a hard look at the secular news media. You take a hard look at CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, all of these networks. Look at their narrative. Is this not exactly what we are seeing right now? I would dare say yes. The result of this was not indoctrination, but the incapacity or unwillingness to distinguish altogether between fact and opinion. That's where we've come. The news has stopped reporting fact, and they are pushing opinion based on the direction that they lean. All the networks are guilty of this. Okay? And this, Arendt postulated, was the core of the Nazi assault on civilization. So looking at the propaganda again, which was information of a biased nature, and I don't have the definition in front of me. You can go back to my propaganda podcast and give a listen to the full definition. But just think about that. It's designed to persuade people to go or lean a certain way. And the omission of facts in much of our reporting nowadays is really to the point where it's all about speculation, because you hear these words used a lot: maybe, might be, possibly, could be. You don't hear facts like the Twins beat the Indians 6-5 in Major League Baseball. Those are hard, indisputable facts. And there are a lot of hard, indisputable facts that are not being reported in things that are happening nowadays through the media, right? It's propaganda. It's indoctrination, folks. All right, I'm going to continue. The next section of this book, Culling the Nation. After his appointment as Chancellor of the Reich in January 1933, Hitler used a February arson attack on the Reichstag building, the home of the National Parliament, as an excuse to suspend basic civil rights indefinitely. Okay, so they had a crisis. The thing with control is they need a crisis to make people feel scared, so then they can say, oh, well, I'll protect you. Here's what we need to do. We need to suspend your basic civil rights. We need to curtail those just for a short time, so we can be the strong arm, right, that makes it possible for you to feel safe again. All right. That happened then. It's happening now. In the weeks that followed, regular police, reinforced with SA and SS Nazi Party militia, rounded up more than 10,000 political opponents from the left and imprisoned them without any legal recourse in an improvised detention facility run in a haphazard fashion, mostly by the SA and characterized by gratuitous violence. These were conditions under which a general election was held on March 5th, under which the new Reichstag adopted on March 23rd. The Enabling Act was passed, which gave Hitler the power to enact laws by decree. The arrests had two purposes: removing those who might oppose the transformation of a democratic constitutional state into a dictatorship with arbitrary powers, and cowing the majority into silence. Okay? We're not there yet. All right, we are not there yet. But I'm just going to put it to you like this, and I'm pretty passionate about this. We're on the way, folks. Okay? I don't wear a tinfoil hat. I base a lot of what I believe on facts, on the Bible, study Bible prophecy, because this stuff is going to happen. This stuff is going to happen towards the end of the age. I listen to people a lot. I listen to people. I listen to their heart. I listen to what they're afraid of. I listen to what they love. I listen to what they have as far as goals and dreams. I study history. I study the Federalist Papers. I study the works of the Founding Fathers and what this nation was supposed to be. I'm studying data and evidence quite a bit because I want to be accurate in what I put out. But base all of this stuff, what I'm talking about this morning, on, this mantra, which is the core of what History in the Mirror is about. History ignored is history repeated. Or history omitted by design is history intended to be repeated. Okay, just think about this for just a little bit. I don't want to scare people. I might like to scare people, but here's what I don't want to scare people into. I don't want to scare people into inaction. I don't want to scare people into cowering in fear because they're afraid the world's going to blow up. The world's going to blow up anyway. I mean, you talk about global warming as fact or fiction, it really doesn't matter. The fact and the truth is that, global warming, it's going to happen. It's called global meltdown. The Bible says that in the world is going to be destroyed. The elements will melt with a fervent heat, and then there will be a new heaven and a new earth. That's just Bible prophecy. That's something that will happen at some point. Tiff Shuttlesworth, go there. Google Tiff Shuttlesworth if you want to begin to study really good Bible prophecy teaching. Go to Tiff Shuttlesworth. He's just an amazing teacher of Bible prophecy. But in our day that we live in now, we have to operate today. We have to function today. And we can be a vehicle and we can be an instrument of change in our society. And we can be a voice of change for good if we really want to be. There's a saying that goes, they that are for us are more than that are against us. I mean, if we were to run around and if I were to take like a week, and maybe someday I will, you never know. But if you were to take a week and just go walk around and just talk to people, just say, hey, can I just have a minute? I just want to ask you a couple of questions. It's okay. I don't mean any harm. I'm just, doing some research. I want to hear what your heart is on this. And just talk to people about what they're afraid of. Okay. Talk to people about what in life they want to see happen, either for good or bad. Pretty much most of them, I'm just going to speculate, are going to say they want to see things change for the good. Okay. So why all of this negative Nelly stuff? Go back to the propaganda, because people have begun to use the propaganda media as their only source for news, their only source for information. And we can't put ourselves in that box, folks. We've got to be study history, see how things parallel even now. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. We're very, very close to one world government. We are very, very close to the establishment of that. We are very close to the establishment of the Antichrist rule that biblically is going to be in place before the end of the world. We're super close. Look at a lot of these countries and how they lock down. My wife and I Mary Jo and I just spent the morning watching our beloved Australian rules football team come away with a win when they probably shouldn't have. They are playing to no fans because their country is in super hard lockdown over COVID-19. They don't even have 100 deaths in Australia since this whole thing started. Doesn't even have that. Very, very few cases. And they are locked down so hard. I saw a deal where a player was fined $1,500 for failure to social distance. There are so many nations on this earth that do not have the liberties that we have in the United States. And I will say this, and I've heard other people say it too, and I believe it, that we are the last link. The United States is the last link. We're the final link in the establishment of the one world Antichrist government. It's hard for me to sit here and sugarcoat this stuff because it's not sugarcoatable. You can't put sugar on a cow pie and say it'll taste good. You know that's gross, but that's kind of about how it is. We are sitting on a time in our life right now where history has been taken away from us. You look at what's happening with the violent protests that are going on and the comparison between Antifa and the Anti-Fascist Action Committee in the Communist Party in Germany in the 30s. Look at the violent uprisings of the SS and the SA. The only thing that is stopping the United States from toppling into that anarchist one world government society is the fact that we do not have right now and argue the point, that's okay. We do not have a leader who is leaning in that direction. Right now, our leader, our president, is going the opposite way. He is pro-liberty. He is pro-church, pro-Israel, pro-life, pro-personal freedom, pro-small government. You got to understand something too. You know, you could sit and say, well, Donald Trump hasn't done this, and that. And all this stuff that he does is ridiculous. and all that kind of thing. Where are you getting your opinion from? Are you getting it from facts? Or are you getting it from hard, raw data on the status of things in this country? Or are you just listening to the talking heads on the media tell you what you should think? The thing that is stopping right now the United States from entering into that, from being the final domino to fall, is the fact that we do not have an Adolf Hitler type leader. What I mean by that is, and some of you probably think Donald Trump is just as bad as Adolf Hitler. Well, he's not. He's not butchering people in the streets who resist him. Okay, that's not happening. We do not have that. We do not have in this country, we do not have an anarchist, demon-possessed leader who is stumping for the extermination of a race of people from the face of the planet. We don't have that right now. And we don't have somebody with that kind of charisma that can rally the people around those destructive ends. Okay, we have somebody who is pushing personal freedom, the ability to defend yourself. A lot of these countries that are severely locked down right now, they have no right to own a firearm. I mean, they have no right to defend themselves. They basically, I was reading some stuff a few years ago in Britain. A homeowner, a bad guy, broke into a person's home and began to violently assault them. The guy defended himself with a kitchen knife, a long kitchen knife, like a chef's knife or whatever. He got put in jail. The bad guy walked, and then they came up with this ridiculous thing that now they want to regulate knife size. And it, I'm potentially we'll put this clip down there too, and caution mild cursing on this one of a clip from the movie Full Metal Jacket. And if you've never seen the movie, it's gritty, it's tough. There's a lot of cursing in it, but it's a story of some men who were in the Marine Corps during Vietnam, their journey through boot camp, and then to Vietnam, where they fought in the Battle of Way City during the Tet Offensive. And our Lee Army, the gunny, right? If you know anything about the gunny, you know that he's just, bless his heart and God rest his soul, but he's was just amazing. I was a former Marine, and played the role of the drill sergeant in the first half of the movie where they went through boot camp. And it was amazing because I went through boot camp in 1988 shortly after the movie came out, and it was like listening to Full Metal Jacket on rerun for 6 weeks. It was just crazy. Anyway, all the DIs must have got around the telly and watched Full Metal Jacket and said, yeah, I'm going to use that one. I'm going to use that one. And they did, and they just went nuts, right? But he was talking about, they were out on the rifle range, and he was talking about the rifle, okay? It was the M14 rifle that they were going through basic boot camp with. And he said that your rifle is just a tool. It is a hard heart that kills. So we got to think about that, folks. We got to think about, and the regulation of firearms, the regulation of kitchen knives, the regulation of baseball bats or whatever. It is not going to stop people from killing. It didn't stop, and it doesn't stop anybody from killing. I mean, for crying out loud, you got people who are strangling other people with their bare hands and killing them with their bare hands. What are you going to do? You're going to start saying you can't have hands now, and you're going to cut everybody's hands off. I mean, that's about how ridiculous that is. Banning an inanimate object. Okay, and get into the gun control thing a little bit. Yeah, if I have my AR-15 rifle and I have 29 rounds in my 30-round magazine, and I pop 29 rounds off and my magazine goes empty, theoretically, I could have killed 29 people. Okay, theoretically. If I would have been intending to, I probably could have. But I had to make the choice to pick up that tool and use it in that manner. Here's another thing too. I could get in my pickup truck and go find a crowd of people that, like an outdoor concert or whatever. Let's just say some kind of outdoor concert, or even one of the rallies, and this has actually happened where people use that vehicle as a weapon and they just mow people down. Why aren't we going after vehicles? Okay. Talk about drunk driving. Let's go there for just a second. We personally know people. We personally have been affected by drunk driving. And it's a rare person that hasn't had at some point in their life either somebody in their family or somebody they know, somebody they work with, whatever, that has been affected in some manner by drunk driving and a death involving drunk driving. Why aren't we going after booze? Oh, well, you know, okay, I rest my case. So anyway, folks, it's a little bit of a rant today, but that's okay. We have a voice, and I think we really need to begin to speak up for logic. I think we really need to begin to speak up for truth. We need to begin to speak up for what's right and proper in society, and what is good and just. Okay, and that's part of what I wanted to do today, is just educate you a little bit on the Holocaust, and then by reading through the book, just kind of say, you know what, we could be on that path right now, so let's be careful. Our voices need to be heard. I'm going to go back to what I said in the previous podcast: get out and vote. Get involved with your local government, your city government, your township board, school board. Let's get some of these things put back in the schools that have been taken out for whatever reason, God knows what, and other than indoctrination of kids, so it makes people easier to convince that this is a good thing to do, the ethnic cleansing thing. And you know what? Let's be a people who are about peace. Let's be a people who are about good. Let's be a people who are about doing good and being a blessing to people around us, and not looking at each other with a slanted eye based on race or based on national origin or ethnic group or political leaning. Most of all, I personally think politics needs to die a quick, painful death, but that's just my opinion. You get so much banter nowadays back and forth over people saying, well, you're just a Republican. Well, I'd never want to be a Republican or a Democrat, and I'm not. My voter registration card says independent, and I always will be. I do not want to identify with a political party, and I'll say this: if you're believing in a political party, or you're trusting in a political party to make things right in your world, you are barking up the wrong tree and trusting in the wrong thing. Because neither major party that we have right now in the United States is after your best interest. They're after their best interests, and it's a fact. And they will use whoever they need to, whichever people group they need to and want to get in power. And then once they're in power, you don't see them again until the next election. So, okay. I hope and pray that this kind of starts to open some ears and some eyes a little bit to the truths about how we as a people are being, the attempt at indoctrination is happening. And let's wake up. Let's begin to really look at things through a different lens. Let's look at things through the lens of, let's look at people through that lens. First, every person that's walking this planet, no matter what their name is, no matter who they are, what they identify with politically, socially, race-wise, anything like that, every person is created in the image of God, and every person has infinite value. Once we begin to value each other as human beings, and as people with hopes and dreams and desires for our life, and stop looking through slanted eyes at people, or squinted eyes, or that type of thing is what I mean by slanted eyes, like, look at them crossways like that. I think we can get the healing process in this nation started. And I think when we reach out to each other over, with that in mind, we reach out to each other with that in mind, that's going to be more healing than convincing someone that they're wrong and we're right, and that they need to change their viewpoint. Because in the end, it just doesn't flip and matter. The political viewpoint, it does not matter. So Let's think about this. Bless you all. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Leave me a comment. Get in touch with me. The email address is on the in the video description. Take a look at the Jocko video. Listen to the Jocko video, the interview with the Holocaust survivor, and do some research. And let's begin to take this country back the right way, which is for good and through loving people and doing our best to be light in this world. Talk to you next time.